So this is actually probably the part that separates the ones that make it from the ones that don't, right? Is that your ability to keep doing the stuff you need to do without seeing the results of your actions is a superpower. The longer you can go, the more successful you'll be. Prepare to do it for a year. You probably will get leads before then, but if you don't, that has to be your mindset. Knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, it's just how far do I have to walk down this tunnel? If I know there's a result at the end of it, I'll keep going forever.
How would you like to have clients calling you daily, convicted that they absolutely want to work with you, that are ready to transact in the next couple of weeks, and all without having to pay a dime for those transactions? Well, that's exactly what our guest, Ross Hardy, has been able to accomplish in a matter of months. And he was able to accomplish this all through YouTube. And today you're gonna hear about how he got started. You're gonna hear about the videos that he records that are actually working. And you'll also hear how he's able to close 300 transactions per year with his real estate team. And towards the end, you're gonna hear him give one piece of YouTube advice that I completely overlooked. He's gonna give that piece of advice to one of my very own real estate agents. And with that being said, let's welcome Ross Hardy. All right, so I have a very special guest for us today. We have none other than a mega boss of mega bosses. So think about that CEO that was part of a huge conglomerate that you absolutely loved or hated, who knows, but just think about that boss. Well, Ross is his boss or her boss. I'm not going to discriminate. So we have that in our midst today. So Ross Hardy from the Ross Hardy team. How are you, man?
I'm really, really good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to share a masterclass on YouTube. When I say masterclass, at this point, the audience knows what to expect. So you and I are catching it cold. So whatever magic comes out is going to come out. But I do fully intend with the questions that we have lined up today that somebody that is watching, whether they are on their 1,000th video or are thinking about getting started on YouTube for the 1,000th time and just hasn't done it, are gonna absolutely see results. So jump right into it. What, for you, what was, we're gonna assume that you wanted to do YouTube at some point. We're gonna start there and gonna go right into it. What was the reservation? What was some hesitation from getting started?
Yeah, I mean, so for sure, I think that we all know we need to do video, right? I think at this point it's undisputed that it works. And so it was on my radar for a long time. I'd seen enough people doing it where they'd had success, most notably, Ken Pozek, who I managed to talk to a number of times. And even in picking his brain and knowing what the steps were, for me, it was getting ready to get ready. So it was like, well, I need all this fancy ass equipment. I need this studio. I need this, that, and that. And I'm just not there yet. And then the second part of it was, okay, well, I know I can shoot these videos probably to some sort of decent level where it's possible. What the heck do I do then? Like, I'm going to get caught in the weeds trying to go on Fiverr and piece all of this stuff together and trying to project manage this thing. Like, that's really intimidating for me. And so a combination of those two things really just caught me in that loop for probably the best part of 2 years.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
No, that's fair. So what was your relationship with video before? Had you done maybe some social media marketing, or, a lot of us start with here. Was that the case with you with the phone? What was your experience with it?
I'd done a ton of video before that. And so, getting on camera wasn't the reservation for me. I had I still have a local food page where I promote local mom and pop restaurants. Had that for about 10 years. We have about 32,000 subscribers, likes on Facebook and Instagram between our two local pages. I'd actually, just through doing videos on that, appeared on the local news several times, which led me to go out to California to appear on Guy's Grocery Games with Guy Fieri and film out there on Food Network. So I was in the video realm for a number of years, but just hadn't made that jump from short form to long form.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's talk about that aspect. So you had some previous experience to video. So being in front of a camera, whether it was your cell phone or an Food Network camera, was not all too different. Talk to us about what was the initial investment of time in your video. So talk to us through that first video that you purposely made for YouTube, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so obviously when you're starting off, where I am, it's small town Americana. There's not a lot of B-roll that's readily available in those online outlets. So I had to go around and actually record my own B-roll. That was the most time-consuming part of it. As far as actually getting in the studio, which is the backdrop you see behind me here, and filming the video, it really wasn't that bad. Obviously I would make a lot of mistakes. I would kind of pause, go back through them again. So to shoot the 20-minute video to start with would maybe take me an hour and a half in the studio, just with the confidence and not knowing how to transition through that properly. On location, if I'm shooting a vlog video, that might be kind of a full day's worth of shooting at 6 or 7 different locations. But you're certainly nowhere near the time investment I was anticipating it would be. Again, when you're thinking of trying to piece all these bits together and you're thinking, man, I got to shoot at 7 locations here. Honestly, the planning maybe took a little bit longer than the actual shooting did.
Okay. So there was some planning involved, and then we went and executed. I know the speed at which you started. So this is going to be like a twofer, if you will. Talk about how many videos, because the most common questions that I get are going to be, well, how many videos per week? How long is it going to take? How long do the videos need to be, and all that fun stuff. So I want to ask more about what your experience with how many videos were you targeting, let's say, per week? I know it's a loaded question, and what you would recommend now as you're getting calls pretty consistently and religiously at this point from other agents that want to replicate your success.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously after you and I met, we came up with a strategy where we were going to post twice a week. And that, was a little bit intimidating, but honestly, once I got in the studio, I would come in and batch record, 4, 5, 6 videos at a time, because life gets in the way. Maybe, you go on vacation, you can't record for a week or two. We got the holidays coming up now, another example of what's going to be like a little stunted shooting period. So, by the time I got those initial, I think when we launched the first one, I'm pretty sure we had like 7 or 8 in the bag ready to post. And then from there, I could just let my foot off the gas a little bit. But just being smart about it, coming in, having content days where I could come in and shoot 5 or 6 videos at one time, normally on a weekend when there's nobody in the office here, and really kind of double down on getting that. I was obsessive, as you know, about getting those videos done to not mess with the algorithm and miss a post.
Oh, I know. You kept a lot of editors on payroll that startup. So
you said unlimited, man. You said unlimited.
You're the outliers that we plan against. No, that was perfect. Well, let's talk about that though, because the success and the early investment, it didn't happen in a month. It didn't happen in 2 months. So talk to us about, from being consistent. That's a big part that you hear in, everywhere. You have to be consistent with YouTube and all that fun stuff. But going through that's another beast. Talk to us about what it was, or, that first outreach, how long did it take? And then what happened thereafter?
Yeah, I love this. So this is actually probably the part that separates the ones that make it from the ones that don't, right? Is, I tell my team when they're making calls that your ability to keep doing the stuff you need to do without seeing the results of your actions is a superpower. And like the longer you can go, the more successful you'll be. Now, I will tell you, thankfully, I knew from having spoken to a few people who had cracked YouTube for real estate that, they said basically prepare to do it for a year. And you probably will get leads before then, but if you don't, that has to be your mindset. So knowing that going in made it a lot easier to do that. And obviously, knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, it's just how far do I have to walk down this tunnel? If I know there's a result at the end of it, I'll keep going forever, because for me, filming these videos is not work. So, there's a guy called Naval Ravikant. He's like, find something that looks like work to them, feels like play to you. Like this feels like play to me. So I will wake up every weekend and shoot videos for the rest of my life if I know I'm going to make money out of it one day. So that for me was like an easy thing to do. But it was probably near enough. Man, I think it was probably pretty close to 6 months before we got that first reach out. And then after that happened, it was like the faucet was turned on and they just kept coming, thick, I wouldn't say thick and fast to start with, but, pretty much thick and fast after the first one came in. And it's hard because I'm sitting there thinking, well, I know I'm not really expecting anything for this period of time, but darn, like surely my videos are better. Like surely I'll be the outlier. Surely I'll be the one who gets that traction immediately off the bat. And you don't necessarily. So, it was, I would say probably 5 months in when we got the first phone call.
Well, I'm smiling and looking down because I have a text from you February 1st. If I can read at least the last half of it, I think it'd be pertinent here to really like, so you share, you know, that after 5 months of posting to a week and spending so much time in views and comments, no reach outs. Now, after 6 months of consistency, 3 phone calls this week alone from the channel, all 600,000 plus. 2 of them are going out this weekend. That was on a Saturday. That was on a Saturday when you texted me that. And then I asked later on, you mentioned that one of them had gone under contract and the other one was there very much so. It's very cool to, you know, seeing that journey along the way. And, but I'm curious here. So what, I understand, you know, that you knew that and you had heard possibly you were bought in on the YouTube aspect. Yeah. What type of results were you waiting for? Were you more seeking? Were you trying to buy some time back and getting some videos out there that you could share with clients as, you know, they called you, you had a mega team and you have a mega team now, even before starting YouTube. But were you trying to save some time? Were you trying to find another lead generation source that's going to be higher converting? What was your main drive for the YouTube?
Yeah, great question. So it was kind of threefold. So yes, buying back time, because there's certain things that we're telling people on a day-by-day basis and we're just repeating ourselves over and over again. And you can put it into a drip email, but people are going to respond, in my opinion, better to the video. They're going to remember more of the information from a video. So getting that into a system where we can reuse it over and over again, not only on our channel to try and draw people in as leads, but also for customers that we have where we can push them to it. So that was number one. Number two is obviously leads. You know, we had signed up with Zillow Flex earlier this year. Of course, Flex is awesome. We kill it on that, but they have a referral fee. So having an outlet for agents on our team for high quality leads without the referral fee to replace Zillow Flex for them is awesome. It's pretty much everyone's favorite lead source on the team who works with those leads because of the strength that, you know, and the quality that they are. Not to mention they're almost twice our average price point. So people love that. And then the third thing was this kind of, I stumbled into this by accident, but being able to reuse the older videos. So not when they first get launched on the channel, but after they've been on the channel for maybe 4, 5, 6 months, using those in our email newsletter to customers and re-engaging those people who have been dormant in our database. You know, it's awesome to see our customers getting deals under contract, and it looks like it's a realtor.com lead, right? So I go into the CRM, I see it's a realtor.com lead, but then when I talk to the agent, they're like, yeah, they said that they reached out because, you know, they've been watching your videos in the emails for the last couple of months. Okay, well, so, you know, on paper, that's a realtor.com lead, but without the YouTube, we wouldn't be closing that. So it's allowed us to really kind of reignite the database on the old leads.
That's awesome. So converting videos. So those took the people that were in your CRM into a, I don't want to say it this way, but a commission check. So
yeah, I mean, that's essentially it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So you're saving time, lead generator, and essentially content, converting content. So that's incredible. No, well, speaking of the content aspect, how would you decide what next video to make?
That's awesome. Yeah. So first of all, you know, you guys are awesome in recommending content that you'll see and working across, you know, all of the other channels that you work with. So definitely taking the lead from that. But then also, you know, sometimes you'll just get a feel for what's performing really, really well, or you can see it in the analytics on the back end, doubling down on that type of content. So if I know that pros and cons is, you know, a banger, then I'm going to make that for 2 or 3 surrounding markets as well and try and ride off the back of that, you know, being careful not to go too far outside of a geographic area and mess with that. But, you know, doubling down on the content that works and then supplementing that with the stuff that you guys are seeing work across, you know, multiple other channels.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Well, one of the things that execution, in my opinion, is your superpower. And I know we didn't necessarily know each other too well. In fact, we didn't before we started with Creator Agents, but it was very evident early on. We already alluded to it from the workload that came with onboarding you. But beyond, so yes, execution by far, in my opinion, is your superpower. So knowing that, I do want to ask you the following, because you have had and have a highly successful real estate team, and you have traveled. You essentially have let's call it the normal agent problems, but to the 10th degree because of the scale at which you operate. So the reason I want to frame it that way is because I want to learn more about your structure and how you look at time, how you look at making time for this, right? So you have family, you have business, you have multiple revenue streams that are taking your time. How do you go about structuring to find time to make this work for you?
Yeah, awesome. So, for me, like you said, operating at the level we're at, we'll close probably 300 deals this year. We just onboarded 7 agents this week. I also coach other team leaders, help them scale their teams. Like you said, 3 kids, sports, 3 dogs, 7 chickens. There's a lot of stuff pulling my time away. So for me, it's been moving stuff off of my plate to allow me to prioritize the video shooting, and then just being really rigid around time blocking. So whatever that might look like. But my agents know that as available as I am to them, shooting days are out. Like that's my sacred time that does not get touched. If there's a problem that day, even if the office is burning down, call 911 and then call my wife, who's director of operations. But that's my absolute sacred time in my calendar. No one books appointments in there. No one texts me, calls me, does anything during those times. Because, shooting video can be hard. And if you have distractions going on around you, you're going to mess up. I mean, I remember when I first started shooting the videos and I didn't make it enough of a priority, I'd get back home and realize that I didn't record the outro, or I missed the CTA. And so, then it's about refining the shot list and stuff. And just, ultimately it was like, okay, I've got to close out all of the outside distractions. That was much easier once the agents could see the sorts of leads it was bringing in. They're like, oh yeah, like go have at it. Like, don't worry, just keep doing that. But certainly in the first instance, it was just, absolutely rigidly trying to time block that and making sure that I had the time put aside for it. Because, as if you're not getting those videos out with consistency, you might as well, I wouldn't say not do them, but it's going to make it much harder if you're not doing it consistently.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm going off script and then I'll go on a side quest real quick. But from the YouTube perspective, we do have the benefit that we're building an asset that is sellable at some point, right? So that's huge. That's amazing. So we're creating a media company. And a lot of agents don't realize that. But really, even if that wasn't the case, and all the business that's coming in, they would have never known who we were unless they went onto YouTube. So the lead generation aspect, even if that wasn't the case, from a video perspective and the YouTube perspective, the amount of time that you're saving with clients and converting them a lot quicker, that's absolutely just huge. So.
Well, and can I just say this? Because I think this is something that maybe will resonate with people. And this is really, it's kind of soul destroying to hear, but I think it's important to do. So, as you know, I do some speaking stuff now for YouTube. This is one, when I did this, I actually just put this slide into my last presentation I did. And you could kind of hear the gasps in the room almost when I did it. Agents will spend a ton of time making Instagram reels or videos for Facebook. And listen, there's value in that. I'm not discounting that. I think it's part of an overall strategy for recognition and branding and whatnot. But we'll spend all of this money, all of this time making this 90-second reel. And the average viewing duration on that is going to be about 6 seconds. Right? Or you can spend, now I've got it down to where I can make a YouTube video in maybe 30 minutes. You can spend 30 minutes making a video that's going to live on YouTube, whereas on Instagram Reels, it disappears after 24, 48 hours. No one's watching that video after 48 hours. Right. They're watching it for 5 minutes. 47% of the views on my channel are on their TV. So now they're watching it for 5 minutes in their living room with their family. A year and a half after I've made the video.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have a really tough time convincing me that that's not a considerably better use of your time than making an Instagram reel.
It's just not possible. And you apply that to the rest of your life. You apply that you have a team, and you can absolutely weaponize, and you probably are you're weaponizing the video aspect to recruit, onboard, retain, and multiply, right? So that's huge. The side quest that I want to take us on real quick was, have you read this book, Buy Back Your Time by Dan?
Yeah, I just finished that one.
Yeah, and literally me too, Sunday. So this has been a really good book that's helped me frame and really affirm the YouTube part. And something that you just mentioned of, yes, there's value in the Facebook post, in the Instagram perfect carousels. But one analogy that he shares in that is basically, it's an established analogy, but this having like a little cup, if you will, and then putting in your big stones first, and then filling in with pebbles and then gravel and then water and all that stuff. Well, I would say that the stones that need to go in first, it's going to be your YouTube videos. And if you have capital, time, and like if you're looking for that, things are going to move the needle maybe 1%, 2%, 3%, then start focusing on the perfect carousel. But until that happens, there's not another vehicle out here that exists, in my opinion, than a YouTube channel and getting videos out there consistently. I just can't think of a better one.
Well, how many watches of 6 seconds are you going to have to get on your Instagram reel to get 60 watch hours? Which is what I was last time on your YouTube channel, to get 60 hours of view time per month. I don't even know how many views that is at 6 seconds of time, but you're not getting it. I know that. Yeah. Well, let's talk about YouTube, because again, you already had a successful channel. You already had a successful vehicle that you clearly were successful. And now, what type of outreach are you getting from your YouTube channel? What does that look like? What has it been able to do for your business? Oh, it's been crazy for us. So I would say we're getting pretty much, not quite a lead a day at this point, but we're getting probably 5 a week. The quality that we're getting is unsurpassed. It's different from Flex. Flex are calling you, they want to go see a house this weekend, and whatever. Everyone knows what Zillow does, but as far as something that we own and the quality of lead, I think that they're unmatched. You're not struggling to get BBAs signed because they already know you, like you, and trust you. There's no resistance to working with you. You've got them in your ecosystem, so you can market to them over the course of the time period that they're normally going on Zillow and ending up with another agent. Like I said, we got to the point now where I'll go on listing appointments and they open the door and they're like, "Oh, I was just watching your YouTube videos." So for me, it was always like, well, this is a really good buyer opportunity, but we're now getting listing opportunities from that as well. It's been probably the best thing that's happened for our business over the last 18 months. One of my personal goals, it's really a team goal, it's a personal goal, is that I want YouTube to be our biggest lead source 3 years from now. And being a flex team, that's going to be a really, really high bar to hit, but that's my goal.
That's awesome. Well, seeing as how you're a highly successful and sought after coach, I'm going to actually build some leverage in here, and I'm going to ask you a question that one of my agents that's newer to the team, newer to real estate, is asking me. So just pretend that this was one of your agents and don't invoice me later. So again, a new agent actually just joined the team. She's beyond bought in on YouTube. But if you were me, what's the first YouTube video you would make? That's literally a text from her an hour ago, so I'm bad at responding. But if you were me, what's the first video you would make?
That's a great question, man. I could give you 3 or 4, but if I was going to make one, I think I would go for the video, the vlog. I think it allows you to showcase the town or the city that you work in, really kind of lean into your expertise and show that local knowledge. You can weave storytelling into it to show some of your experience and some of that stuff. It would be very closely followed by the pros and cons. But if you told me you can only make one video for the rest of your life, I think the vlog one's probably the one in my market that resonates the most, and it's opened up the most opportunities for me.
This is why you're so much better than me, Ross, because I was going to completely lead her astray, and I was going to say the how to buy a house video. And the reason that's a stupid idea to do right out of the gate is because she's brand new. She has no idea how to do that. So, but your which I'm going to message her right now, and thank you again, don't invoice me, but yours is so much better because you know the town. You've been you grew up here. This is something that you even if you didn't grow up here, well, you're very well equipped to help somebody that what's what Ed Milet says, you're the most equipped to help somebody you used to be, or something like that. So if you just relocated to the town, you don't have to be an expert in the town. storytelling as you're referencing. Well, this is what I looked, this is why I selected this area, this is what I'm finding out, and this is where I was right and I was wrong. That's huge.
This is where you can pour rocket fuel on it. I think this is kind of maybe something that I've done that other people won't do on YouTube this happened purely by accident, by the way, off of this vlog video. So let me just tell you a quick story. So Perry Homes, who are in Texas, they were actually only in Texas until recently, built their first home outside of Texas in Brooksville, Florida. Quite how they stumbled upon that, I don't know, but they did. So I went up to their model to shoot a video up there for YouTube, and the guy says, when you finish, please come and see me. So I go and see the sales rep, and they'd flown all their staff in from Texas to man these models in Florida. So he says to me, you said you're shooting this for YouTube, right? Yep. He says, cool. He's like, yeah, I thought that was you. He's like, when I found out they were moving me from wherever he was in Texas to Brooksville, Florida, I didn't know where it was. He says, so I'm online looking it up. He said, and I stumbled across that video of you walking around downtown with the selfie stick. He's like, you go to the coffee shop and stuff? I said, yeah, that's me. He says, yeah. He's like, we get a lot of inquiries from people outside of Florida. Would you mind if I sent that video to everybody in my database so they know what's going on in Brooksville? I said, well, heck yeah, go ahead and do it. And he's like, and would you mind sending me the link to this video when you finish it so that I can send it to all the people to show them the model? I said, heck yeah, like absolutely. So now I'm in a situation where this guy, every time someone calls in who is inquiring about the Perry Homes, but they decide it's not for them, he's like, well, are you working with an agent locally? Well, no, I called you guys. Well, let me give you a number for my guy Ross. Like, he's the local expert. He's making YouTube videos and stuff. Like, I can't tell you how much business I've got off of that one video. But again, it's a really good intro for people who are not familiar with the area. And so now I go to all of the builders, give them the link to the YouTube video, send them a couple of other options they can send out to their database to try and leverage it that way. It's been a game changer. That's
huge. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's so I know we have a hard out here, and by we I mean you, because your time is way more valuable than mine right now. So I want to ask you, if you could hit the reset button real quick, what would you do different?
I would have started 2 years earlier when I first thought about it. I think we all look back and say, man, like, where would I be now if I started when I wanted to start, right? So that would be the biggest thing I would change. I would have stopped procrastinating. I would have just jumped right into action. Bearing in mind I don't have that luxury. I think the only other thing I would have changed is I would have studied the analytics a little bit earlier on my channel. The first couple of videos I made, I was a little heavy on that call to action. They saw a big drop off. I kind of picked up on that a little bit late in the game. Once I shortened down that CTA and softened it a little bit, there's a better attention time in there, move it back in the video a little bit. So just kind of paying attention to the analytics on the channel a little bit more, rather than just pumping out videos and not inspecting them on the back end. Those would be kind of the two changes I guess I would make.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Now, I know this because of, having known you. You have, obviously you have a extremely successful real estate team, but from the coaching side of things, I'm curious to see, can people reach out to you? Can agents reach out to you? And who would be the right type of agent to reach out to you on the coaching front, if that's something that you're open to from the audience?
Yeah, so actually primarily I coach team leaders, so help them scale their business. So I had some real fun doing that. One of the great things of having had a team for 15 years is I've made a lot of the mistakes that new team leaders would make. So definitely they can reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to them about what that looks like. As far as coaching the agents, man, I got 26 agents on my team, so I got my hands full with them. But who knows? Maybe one day down the line, I'll get into some of the agent coaching, or you and I might collab, and I'll come and help you guys out over there.
Let's do it. Agents, get a hold of your team leads and brokers, and reach out to Ross, because you're going to be the beneficiary of a lot of the knowledge. You're going to be a beneficiary of, as Ross mentioned, the 15 years of wounds, and he's healed from them. So.
Yeah, millions of dollars wasted money.
Millions of dollars, and that's what a lot of people don't realize, right? So it's the experience that the time is it's the most coveted thing, if you will. But even if from the finance perspective, right? So oftentimes, and I'm sure you get this a lot, the same as I'm a baby team lead. I'm not anywhere close to a Ross level, but when we have conversations and when it all comes down to what are your fees, what are your splits? Well, when you're talking about the splits, whatever they happen to be, whether regardless of, I'm not even going to mention what splits they are, but whatever they happen to be, they came with a price, right? Yeah. So there's a price that one has paid. Okay, you and I there. Again, I'll put you and then me somewhere here. But with that being said, if you could build proximity to a Ross Hardy, and join your team and get the answer, as opposed to you spending an entire day trying to figure out something else out, where a simple text or simple call to Ross is like, hey, what do I do in this situation? And you get expert advice that's going to save you an entire day, an entire 2 days, an entire 3 days, and save your deal, especially when you're getting started. Why wouldn't you do a 50-50 split? Why wouldn't you do, there's just so much value in that a lot of agents, especially baby agents, just don't get.
Well, I'll say two things to that. First of all, we've got great agents on our team. We got one guy who's going to sell 65 homes this year. Now, could he do that on his own? Possibly, but the expense and the management involved in trying to run a team of people under him to help leverage him to do that, he's not going to want to take that on. So it allows him to go out and do what he enjoys and what he's great at, and sell a whole bunch of homes and make a whole bunch of money. The second part of that is, if you're on a good team and you have people that build systems for you to succeed, we're in a market in Florida at the moment where the market's going to be down year over year. I think every single agent on our team will sell more homes this year than they sold last year, I think without exception. Because we're always building stuff and we're able to do things that an individual agent wouldn't be able to do to increase their business. We just have that leverage money-wise. We have that leverage with people, systems, to be able to have agents succeed by doing the parts that they enjoy.
I would drop this mic, but it's too expensive right now. So that's awesome. Ross, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming through and sharing your experience, but beyond that, getting very tactical and sharing how somebody else can pick up that mic and do it themselves. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah, for sure. And listen, and thank you to you guys, because without you guys, I wouldn't be on here talking about it. So I really want to thank you and the team as well.
Thank you.